Hello and welcome back. I'm Golden Battler and this is the Phantasm stage of Concealed the Conclusion. Being that it's a Phantasm stage, it's gonna look fairly similar to the Extra stage, just turned up to 11 a little bit, like this opening section here. Now these fairies here, unlike in their Extra stage counterparts, are actually really dangerous. You have to be very fast and very precise, and even then they're a little bit random, so you can just get screwed if you're not on the ball. This section is different, but not exactly hard. Helps if you have seen it before and you just know where to go. And this bit looks really intimidating, but you can pretty much just take your hands off the keyboard. And we're at the mid-boss. It's Suika again. Likewise, her spells are extra ramped up. This one, because of the 3 prongs, you can't do it the same way as you did the extra version. And this dodging method that I have here, I think works for every shot type, but I'm not sure. Some of the slower ones might not quite be able to reach it to the bottom of the screen in time. I haven't really tested it out though. Now, this spell is actually easier than its extra counterpart once you kind of realize the trick. I have gotten a little unlucky sometimes though. This attack starts off seeming identical, but once she gets to the sucking in phase, you'll find that it has gravity. Kind of like Utsuho's attack, except that this was made before Subterranean Animism. You don't have to use a Yin-Yang Ball here, but there's no reason not to either. This whole back half of the stage is pretty much the same. These fairies are basically the same, except that their bullets are more spread out. This guy I like to leave for a little bit to wait for those 3 fairies up there up top to come down, and so I can use a Yin-Yang Ball on all of them. It's safer that way. And we've got one last Ultra Fairy coming up here. So, for the Phantasm boss, a lot of people were guessing about who it would be. So, I wonder who it is. Hey look, it's just Reimu. What a fucking surprise, right? Yeah. I was tapping to the beat of the music here, but the replay is a little desynced, so it looks just random. Alas. Reimu's attacks are all pretty much just Suika's, but ramped up a little bit. This one's pretty much identical. You pretty much just swap out the rice pellets for amulets, and that's basically Reimu. This attack is Fuck the Colorblind Part 2, except the safe spots move, which, aside from being very cool, is not really make things much harder. In fact, the waves don't move as fast, so I'd say this attack is actually easier. This non-spell really should be trivial, but sometimes I do fuck up and get killed here. It's very embarrassing when it happens. Now it's vertical streaming. This can actually be pretty difficult to do normally. Actually, no, not really, but you can trivialize it with the Yin-Yang Balls, as most things. Just be careful because it doesn't always get the laser, so you might walk up and run right into a laser that decided not to transform. For this one, you pretty much just want to stream a little bit, then turn the stream immediately after one wave. Should be safe every time doing that. Now this attack, I do know how to do it properly, however it requires an absurd amount of precision, so I never do it in a real one. Unless I have to. This attack, it's just misdirecting. You can use the Yin Orbs, but it doesn't really change what you have to do. You can kind of see what I mean, though, about there being an upper limit on the number of bullets that can be converted. There's, like, some stragglers left behind that I still have to kind of pay attention to. It's kind of inconsistent. This deck is neat. That's about all I have to say about it. I use a Yin Yang Ball there, just for safety. Kinda trivializes it a little bit, but not really. I mean, you can still get clipped pretty easily with all the multi-direction dodging at the start. This non-spell kind of fucks with my eyes sometimes. It shouldn't be too hard, though, as long as I'm paying attention and don't get kind of sucked in. Now, this deck starts off seeming easy, and it kind of is. You just have to know how the star moves ahead of time, or you're probably gonna get hit. First it dives at you, and then it does a circle there. If you don't know about it, you're probably dead. Kinda sucks, like that. When this, when the amulets kind of clump up into walls on this attack, it can be a little annoying, but shouldn't be too bad as long as paying attention. Now, this attack actually really fucking sucks, unlike its extra counterpart. Both, yeah, because of the yin-yang boards here, but also because the lines aren't really drawn properly. Like, sometimes they just won't show up, so sometimes you'll think you're safe, but you're actually not. I like to kind of start high, then move low for the first wave, and then on the second wave, move up, and it usually ends the spell by that point. I got a bit unlucky though. And this non-spell is very difficult sometimes, if you're unlucky. I get hit by it a lot. Now, this is a bit like the extra version in that it used to be damn fucking impossible for me, until I realized that it was all bark, no bite. You pretty much just move left, move right, move left, move right, and it's very easy. This non-spell should be easy, unless you're, like, absurdly unlucky. That is, like, the only time I've ever gotten hit by that attack. Pretty much ever. This attack is kind of Maze of Love-ish. You want to dodge through the gaps aggressively. Start high, then you can kind of let yourself get pushed low a little bit. And now we're at her survival attack. You want to, for this first bit, kind of circle around in this really rough rectangular sort of shape, and you have to do it counterclockwise. I sort of use the one that's shooting at me more directly as like a guideline of sorts. With this part, she sends out waves of crosses and X's that are based on your position. They start to speed up. You can memorize a pattern for them if you want, but I just sort of move in a weird shape thing. I've just sort of intuited a way to do it naturally. With this part, you have to go into the inner wave rather than the outer part of it. Otherwise, when you start circling around here, the gaps kind of widen, and eventually they'll become too wide for you to really keep up with them. So you have to go on the inside, which is kind of tight at first. And this bit really isn't too bad. It kind of reminds me of Mountain of Faith a little bit. I don't know why. The boundary here does get closed, and I do use a Yin-Yang Orb just for safety, but even then it's not too bad to do normally. And we're on her final normal spell. It's, of course, the rain attack, but if it was just a rain attack, it wouldn't be too bad. In fact, just looking at it right now, it shouldn't be too much worse than Suika's version, right? But the part where it gets really difficult is when the amulets sort of clump up into walls, like right there. The orange one there. When they do that, it sort of throws a whole lot of macro dodging into an attack that I normally think of sort of like micro, so it sort of fucks with my head, and I'm like, oh god, what do I do? And I bond there because I had to blink. No other reason, really. It is very pretty, at the least. At least I didn't die. And yeah, that's the rainbow fight. I was pretty happy with this recording. It took me quite a while to get that all to go perfectly. Perfectly-ish. I didn't lose a life, so good enough. And now we are going to go on to... Yeah, I was really happy. As you can see. So here's Reimu's last spell. It's really cool. It's very, very cool. I don't even really know how to describe it. It's just neat as hell. It's very macro-oriented. You have to move around constantly because of the waves that she sends out, and you have to look ahead to see where the shogi tiles are going to be. She sends out these aimed waves, but they're really not... They don't change what you do at all, and the random shots there don't last long enough. So here's her last word. It's, kind of shit. It's far too hectic to even remotely be dodgeable on the fly, so you basically just have to memorize a route. Luckily, it didn't take me too long. It took me like maybe 35 tries or something like that. But yeah, that's about it for Concealed to Conclusion. Thanks for watching, guys.